So this is it in New York, and have started rehearsals. Um, so far so good. I was thinking about what I could share with you about this experience so far, and it's pretty standard. What I did is I got a Airbnb in on the Upper West Side. Um, in Manhattan, you can only do 30 days minimum for Airbnb. So we had to do 30 days, and my wife came out with me for the first couple weeks. One of her bucket lists was Christmas in New York, so we did Christmas in New York. Didn't have a white Christmas. In fact, it didn't actually snow until after she left. But a beautiful little one-bedroom apartment on the Upper West Side off of 83rd and Columbus, just a block from Central Park. And, it's been a great time so far. As far as rehearsals go, we've just been running the show. I mean, we just start at the beginning. We start off at usually about 10 a.m. and go to 6 o'clock every night. And the cast comes together and we just work. And I got to tell you, one of the concerns that I always have going into a show is who are the people I'm going to be working with and what are they going to be like? And I mean, for the most part, every cast that I work with over the past couple of years have been great and just wonderful. There was one show in particular where there wasn't a clicking, that went on that, people didn't really click together. And that, I think that show is the exception. But they're out there. And so there's always that concern is this cast really going to click? And especially the concern is with this because we're going on tour. We're going to be going all over the world together. We're going to be spending the next 5 months together, not all over the world, all over the country together. For the next 5 months, we're going to be in buses and in planes and in hotels. And, we're going to be in each other's face for 5 months. And gosh, man, I hope there aren't any difficult personalities. And I was so relieved to meet this cast, and I got to tell you, there's not a bad apple among them. It's just so far a great group of people, just really good, professional, kind people who really genuinely love the arts and really love doing what we're doing and are there to help each other out. And gosh, I'm so pleased with this group so far. And talent. Holy smokes, man. Like every single person in this show brings something huge to the role that they're playing. The roles and the parts and the casting was just so on it, man. It was just so good. And so far, it's just been an absolute joy. I'm so happy about it. And the experience of being able to be in New York and do these rehearsals and be in the rehearsal space, that's on Broadway. I mean, it's on, 38th and 8th Street, which is just 2 blocks down from Times Square and just a couple blocks off of Broadway. That's amazing, man. And I'll just sit there during rehearsals when I'm not working, and I'll just be sitting there staring over, the street and watching the cars go by and just thinking, what is going on? Like, I'm here. Like, this is New York, man. Like, so many dreamers dream of doing this right here, of being in a rehearsal and putting together a professional show and getting paid to do this in New York. And here I am, and this is what I'm doing. Riding the subway to work every morning. It's just a dream. It's a dream. And New York is, great food, great shows. It's all great. Speaking of which, obviously we made it a point to go to see some shows. In the beginning, it was a little rough. It was a little rough going because of COVID. And COVID is, it's been a monster in the city. And you think about it, though. I mean, everybody's like on top of each other in New York. It's like with Omicron, like what else are you going to do? it's no wonder to me that it's just running rampant through the city. And we're having performers in our cast, because we're getting tested every other day, about every third day. And so every time we get tested, somebody gets nailed, right? He gets positive and has to go home and isolate for 5 days, and then they lose rehearsal. And so then they've set up Zooms so that the people at home can still watch the rehearsal and know what's going on. But it's really been a monster. My wife and I had bought tickets to shows prior to getting to New York. We got our tickets because I was thinking, okay, we're going to be, the week after Christmas is going to be the busiest week. I want to make sure we get our tickets. So we got tickets to the Rockettes for Christmas Eve. We got tickets to see Come From Away and Hadestown. Those were the ones that we really wanted to see. Almost immediately, Rockettes was canceled. They canceled the show because of COVID, and then Hadestown dropped. And then we had Come From Away, and we went and sat down in the theater, and a friend of ours, hooked us up with some of the costumers, I think, and they were going to give us a tour, backstage tour. And we sat down in the theater, and it was curtain time, and here comes the announcement: sorry, folks, we got to cancel the show. Which means that they were scrambling to try and get that show up, because these producers, they don't want to shut down, you know what I mean? If they're shutting down a show, it means that not only have their leads gotten hit with COVID, but their understudies have too. They've got nobody to put the show up. So they have to shut it down. And there's nothing they can do about it. And if you do the math, there's like 1,600 seats. And if you're averaging $150 a seat, that's $200,000 a performance that they're losing, 8 performances a week. So, if they're dropping 8 a week of shows, that's, $2 million or whatever that they're losing. That's crazy. That's crazy. So that they don't want to do that. But that's just the way COVID's been doing. It's been running rampant through New York. And again, it doesn't surprise me, because you see all of these people like right up on top of each other. I'm standing in the subway, and I go to grab onto the pole, and I look at my hand and I realize, we know that the virus can stay active on a metal surface for up to 7 days. Like, how many thousands of people have touched this pole, in the past 7 days? And it's like, whoa, all right, get the hand sanitizer out, don't touch your face. Like, it's just, it's been a heck of a ride. And so now we're just getting, we're getting up and getting going, and everything's getting up and going. And hopefully, fingers crossed, it doesn't hit our cast in a way at a wrong time that causes us to lose any shows. But who knows? I mean, it's everything's so uncertain right now. But I did eventually get to go and see Hadestown, which was fantastic, and we went and saw Company, and we got to see Patti LuPone. She's just an icon, a Broadway icon. And we saw Miss Doubtfire, and then I went to by myself after Jill left to see Phantom of the Opera, which is, hey, look, I'm not ashamed to say it, okay? I love Phantom of the Opera. You don't like it? Hey, look, there's millions of people who love it. It's I think the longest running show on Broadway now, and all those people can't be wrong. So sorry. It's a fantastic show, and it was all understudies, who were performing in the show because all the leads were down with COVID, and They did great. The understudies did great. Look, you don't get to be an understudy on Broadway by being a schlep, right? These people, they know what they're doing. They go, yeah, the guy who played Phantom, he wasn't Michael Crawford, but he did fine. He did good. Like, I wasn't disappointed in any of the performances. But of course, you have your armchair critics, sitting behind me during, intermissions. And, well, these understudies, they're a little loose, and you just want to turn around and smack them. Shut up. Yeah, why don't you get up there and do it? Let's see how good you do. These guys were crushing it. They did so good. But it goes to a point too that that I've been really disappointed on this trip with audiences. It just amazes me how people don't know how to act at a show. I'm just marvel at that. You know, during Phantom, the woman next to me, you know, by the way, I went to TKTS and got my tickets on the day of. Since I was just buying one ticket, less than half price I got it for, you know, a ticket for Phantom. Center orchestra, great seats. And the woman next to me, when the chandelier goes up in the beginning, pulls out her phone to take, I'm like, what are you doing? You know, and her and her husband are having a big conversation, you know, and like people think they're sitting at home. This happened during Hadestown too. We were in the mezzanine, and there's a couple over here off to my left behind me having a full-on conversation like they're sitting in their living room. And you turn around and you're like, would you shut up? Like, what do you, how does this, I don't, you know. And then people standing down there, you know, they're taking pictures and they're taking their masks off, and then the ushers are coming at them, and you know, and you know, the ushers. I'm having problems with ushers because now somebody's got to do something with these people, right? Because they're just like, they just don't know how to act with their phones, and they're talking and their masks off and everything. So then you get the ushers that are really good, and then you get the ushers that are really bad, who then start yelling at everybody, and they being rude to everybody because they don't, and it's just chaos. It's chaos in the audience. And I mean, during Phantom even, we had a really overzealous usher who decided that somebody in our row didn't have their mask on high enough. And so she started, you know, flashing her flashlight at us in the middle of the second act. We're trying to watch, and this light, and we're all looking at her, and then looking down, and she's doing this, we can't hear her because people are singing, and she's, and we're what? And so we're looking down. Everyone's got their mask on. What do you want? Okay, never mind. Like, go away. We go back to looking. She starts flashing like she was going to make the point, and she was going to make sure she ruined the show for us. You know what I mean? So now you've got people who don't know how to act in the audience. You've got ushers who are being overzealous, and you know, who are being, you know, the Gestapo, and who are harassing people who do know how to act, are getting caught in the crossfire. It's just chaos. It's just chaos, and it's such a shame. And on the one hand, you want them to do that because you don't want the shows to shut down, right? But on the other hand, you know, you want them to get some training or how to deal with people, or I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I just know that was something that was very disappointing to me in this whole experience, because I do love Broadway, and I do love live theater. You know, that said, tomorrow we head out for our tech, which will be in Connecticut. I'm really excited about that, and I'll update you on that. And I'll tell you a little bit about the shows that I went and saw, and I'll give you my reviews on them, those 4 shows that I talked about. So exciting stuff. Getting ready to get shot out of the cannon here, and hopefully I'll be able to get back and talk to you real soon about it. Okay, talk soon.